Jessica always dreamed of hearing her daughter Emma's voice again, but not like this. On a quiet, frost-bitten night in Chicago, she met a girl who looked exactly like Emma, knew things only Emma would remember, and even carried the same crescent-shaped birthmark. Yet, as Jessica held her tight, relief mingled with an eerie unease. Why did the girl flinch at every passing car? Why did she whisper names in her sleep? Names Jessica didn't recognize. And most hauntingly, why did the last call made from a cracked flip phone hidden under her mattress lead straight to a shadowy number in Texas? What started as a mother's joyous reunion soon unraveled into a chilling question. Was this really her daughter, or something far darker? In the heart of Chicago, Illinois, nestled between towering skyscrapers and the hum of a bustling city, stood the Blue Ridge Diner. It was a modest place, with faded blue booths, checkered tablecloths, and the faint aroma of coffee and fried onions lingering in the air. But what made it special wasn't the food or the decor. It was Jessica Thompson, a 30-year-old waitress with a smile that could melt icy hearts and a kindness that turned strangers into regulars. Jessica had worked at the diner for 5 years, pouring coffee with a steady hand and listening to customer stories with genuine care. She remembered birthdays, asked about sick pets, and slipped extra fries on a kid's plates when their parents weren't looking. "You're a saint," her boss Mike would grumble, though his gruff tone couldn't hide his admiration. The regulars agreed. She was the heartbeat of the place. But beneath her warmth, Jessica carried a quiet sorrow. 3 years ago, her life had shattered. Her daughter Emma, only 5 at the time, had vanished during a family camping trip in the Rocky Mountain wilderness. One moment, Emma was giggling by the campfire, chasing fireflies. The next, she was gone. Jessica and her then-husband Ryan had searched frantically, calling her name into the dark, scouring the forest with police and volunteers. Days turned to weeks, weeks to months. No trace. The marriage crumbled under the weight of grief, and Ryan left. Jessica stayed, clinging to a fragile hope that refused to die. Every night, she'd stare at a photo of Emma. Big hazel eyes, a sprinkle of freckles, and a tiny crescent-shaped birthmark on her left wrist. She'd searched everywhere, shelters, missing persons databases, even psychics. Nothing. So she poured her love into the diner, into the people who filled her days, because it was all she had left. It was a chilly March evening in 2025 when everything changed. The diner was quiet, the dinner rush fading into a low hum. Jessica wiped down the counter, humming softly, when she glanced out the street window. Across the street, under the dim glow of a street lamp, stood a small figure, a girl no older than 8, wrapped in a tattered coat too big for her thin frame. Her dark hair was tangled, her face smudged with dirt. She wasn't moving, just staring at the diner, her breath fogging in the cold. Jessica's heart thudded. She'd seen homeless folks around Chicago before, but a kid alone, that was different. She grabbed a styrofoam cup, filled it with hot chocolate, and slipped on her jacket. "Mike, I'll be right back," she called, already halfway out the door. The wind bit at her cheeks as she crossed the street. The girl didn't run or flinch, just watched her approach, wide-eyed. Up close, Jessica saw the hunger in her hollow cheeks, the way her hands trembled as she clutched the coat tighter. "Hey, sweetie," Jessica said gently, kneeling to her level. "You look cold. Want some hot chocolate?" The girl hesitated, then nodded. As she reached for the cup, her sleeve slid up, revealing a glimpse of her wrist. Jessica froze. There, faint but unmistakable, was a crescent-shaped birthmark. Her breath caught. "No, it can't be." She shook her head, trying to dismiss it. Birthmarks weren't that rare, right? But then the girl spoke, her voice small and soft. "Mom." Jessica's world tilted. The cup slipped from her hand, splashing hot chocolate onto the pavement. She stared at the girl, searching her face. Those hazel eyes, the freckles, they were so familiar, yet blurred by time and hardship. What did you say?" Jessica whispered. "Mom," the girl repeated, stepping closer. "It's me." Jessica's knees buckled. She gripped the girl's shoulders, her mind racing. "Emma? Is that you?" Her voice broke as she traced the birthmark with a trembling finger. It was identical, down to the slight curve at the tip. But how? Where had she been? And why now? Tears streamed down Jessica's face as she pulled the girl into her arms. The child smelled of dirt and neglect, but beneath it, there was something, a faint, impossible trace of the baby shampoo Jessica used to buy. "Oh my God," she sobbed, clutching her tight. "I thought I'd lost you forever." The girl didn't cry. She just clung to Jessica, her small hands fisting in her jacket. "I knew you'd find me," she murmured. Jessica's heart swelled, but a thread of unease wove through her joy. 3 years. How had Emma survived? Why was she here alone, calling her mom like no time had passed? She pushed the questions aside. None of it mattered now. Her daughter was back. Jessica took her inside the diner, ignoring Mike's raised eyebrow as she sat the girl in a booth. "You're freezing," she said, wrapping her in a spare apron. "Let's get you some food." She brought out a plate of pancakes, Emma's old favorite, topped with whipped cream and strawberries. The girl ate ravenously, barely pausing to breathe. "Slow down, sweetie," Jessica said, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "You're safe now. Tell me, where have you been?" The girl swallowed, her eyes darting to the window. "Out there," she said vaguely. "I don't remember much. Just running. And then I saw this place. I saw you." Jessica frowned. Running from what? Or who? She wanted to press, but the girl looked so fragile, dark circles under her eyes, her skin pale and bruised. "It's okay," Jessica said softly. "You don't have to talk about it yet. I'm taking you home." She called Mike over, explaining in a rush that she had to leave. He grumbled, but waved her off. "Go. Take care of your kid. We'll manage." Her kid. The words felt surreal as she drove home with the girl buckled into the passenger seat. She kept stealing glances, half expecting her to vanish again. But she was real, solid, breathing, alive. Home was a small apartment above a bakery, cozy but cluttered with memories. Jessica ran a bath, gently washing the grime from the girl's skin. As the dirt faded, more of Emma emerged. The curve of her jaw, the tilt of her nose. Yet something felt off. Her eyes held a weariness Jessica didn't recognize, a hardness no 8-year-old should have. After the bath, Jessica tucked her into bed with Emma's old stuffed bunny, Mr. Whiskers. "You still have him?" the girl said, hugging it tight. "Of course," Jessica replied, her throat tight. "I never stopped hoping." The girl smiled faintly and closed her eyes. Jessica sat there for hours, watching her sleep, afraid to blink. She didn't call the police yet, didn't want to overwhelm her. Tomorrow, she'd figure it out. For now, she had her daughter back. The next morning, Jessica woke to find the girl, Emma, standing by the window, staring at the street below. "Good morning, sweetheart," Jessica said, forcing cheer into her voice. "Hungry?" Emma turned, her expression unreadable. "Yeah, can we go back to the diner?" Jessica hesitated. "Sure, but don't you want to stay here? Rest a little?" "I like it there," Emma said simply. "It feels safe." So they went. At the diner, Emma sat in the same booth, watching Jessica work. Customers cooed over her. "What a cutie!" Jessica beamed, though that unease gnawed deeper. Emma barely spoke, just observed, her gaze flicking to the door every few minutes. One customer, a man in a black hoodie, lingered longer than usual. Jessica noticed him glance repeatedly at Emma before slipping out the door. She shivered, telling herself it was nothing. That night, Jessica finally called the police. "I think I found my daughter," she told the officer, her voice shaking. "She's been missing for 3 years. They arrived within the hour, a kindly detective named Harris and a social worker. They took Emma's fingerprints and asked gentle questions. Emma answered in monosyllables, clutching Mr. Whiskers. Jessica hovered, anxious but hopeful. Hours later, Harris called her aside. "Jessica, the prints match. She's your daughter. No question." Relief flooded her, but Harris's frown stopped her cold. "What's wrong?" He sighed. "We found something else, a report from a shelter in Seattle 2 months ago. A girl matching her description was picked up. Same birthmark. She told them her name was Anna. Said her parents were dead." Jessica's stomach dropped. "That's impossible. She's Emma. She called me mom." "I know," Harris said. "We're looking into it. Could be trauma, memory issues. She's been through hell, Jessica. Give her time." But doubt crept in. Why Anna? Why lie? And how had she found the diner? Days passed, and the mystery deepened. Emma settled in, but oddities piled up. She knew things, like the lullaby Jessica used to sing, but stumbled over others, like the name of their old dog. One night, Jessica found her whispering into a cracked flip phone she hadn't seen before. "Who are you talking to?" she asked, heart pounding. "No one," Emma said quickly, hiding it under the pillow. "Just pretending." Jessica didn't push, but she couldn't sleep. The next day, she searched the apartment while Emma napped. Under the mattress, she found the phone. It was dead, but the last call was to a number in Texas. She dialed it from her own phone, hands shaking. A man answered, his voice rough. "Who's this?" I found this number," Jessica stammered. "Do you know a little girl, about 8, with a birthmark?" The line went dead. Panic surged. Who was he? And why did Emma have his number? That night, Jessica confronted her. "Emma, I need the truth. Where were you? Who's the man on the phone?" Emma's eyes widened and hardened. "You wouldn't understand." "Try me," Jessica pleaded. "I'm your mom." "Are you?" Emma snapped, her voice sharp. "Maybe I'm not who you think." Jessica recoiled. "What does that mean?" Emma's lip trembled, and the mask cracked. "I am Emma, but I wasn't lost by accident. Someone took me. They trained me to find people, to trick them. I escaped, but they're still looking. I came here because I remembered you. I thought you'd protect me." Jessica's mind reeled. "Who took you? What?" "I don't know their names," Emma whispered. "They said I was special, that I could help them. But I hated it. I ran away, and I found you." Tears welled in Jessica's eyes. She pulled Emma close, rocking her. "You're safe now. I swear it." The truth unraveled slowly. The police traced the Texas number to a trafficking ring, a shadowy group that abducted kids and exploited them for scams. Emma had been one of their pawns, her memory warped by fear and manipulation. But the birthmark, the eyes, it was all real. She was Emma, reclaimed from a nightmare. Jessica quit the diner and moved them to a quiet town in Ohio. Therapy helped Emma heal, piece by piece. The ring was dismantled, but Jessica never stopped looking over her shoulder. One spring day, as they planted flowers in their new garden, Emma hugged her tight. "I'm glad I found you, Mom." Jessica smiled through tears. "I never stopped looking, sweetheart. And I never will." The sun dipped low, casting a warm glow over them. A mother and daughter, lost and found, bound by a love that defied the dark. At its core, this story is about hope, courage, and the unbreakable bond between a mother and her child. But it's also a wake-up call, a reminder that while love conquers many things, staying informed and proactive ensures that no child gets left behind. So, what will you take away from this story? And more importantly, what step will you take today to create a safer, kinder world? If this story touched your heart or gave you chills, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with your friends and family. And if you want more powerful and emotional stories like this one, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you never miss an update. We'd also love to hear your thoughts. Leave a comment below about this story, and if you enjoyed this story, give it a big thumbs up. Your support helps us continue sharing stories that touch hearts and inspire change. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next story.